Hey, what's up, guys? Node Investor here. Fake out, shake out, breakout, fake out, breakout, fake out, shake out. Oh, man. Interesting times we live in, my friends. Hope everyone is doing well as you can be in these uncertain, crazy, crazy times. Social media is nuts. The world is going crazy. There's still a pandemic out there. There's riots on the streets. I'm not going to get into politics today. But crypto is, well, nothing's changed in crypto. Volatile as usual, up and down. Here we go. But, I'm going to talk about just BTC here. This is going to be a relatively quick live stream here. Just going to do a market update, really. Give my thoughts on Bitcoin, where I'm at in terms of what I'm looking for next, am I bullish, am I bearish, am I neutral, and then of course we'll spend a little time on some of the alts, and that's about it. Probably won't do a whole lot on the what you guys call the legacy markets, stocks, gold, forex, anything like that. We'll hold off. We'll see how we do on time, but I'm gonna try to keep it to like maybe 30 minutes. And I'm snacking out here too, so that's the crunchily sound you hear. But bear with me as I take a bite of my snacks, drink a little bit of my tea, and talk crypto. I just posted the link, so let me see. We'll get some more folks joining here. That's a good snack. When 1K? I'm gonna be waiting a while, I think. Say something everyone else isn't saying. Add value. Well, clearly I add value. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But I will add value. All right, so let's get to it here. Yeah, every time I'm live, there's something moving. No, I wouldn't say that. So here's what I was looking at. Yesterday, the chart was just, Bitcoin, the consolidation that I was looking for here on this daily chart could just continue to play out nicely, right? This little, you call it ascending triangle, was starting to form maybe. It ended up being more of a symmetrical pattern, right, where you have these little coiling of the price action there, you got it there, you got there, and then of course, this level here around that 9,800 was really your bull break zone, and on the downside, obviously breaking below this level here, but above that, 9K would have probably been your early signal. Clearly, we had that breakout, and then of course today followed by a shakeout. On the positive, though, here's the important thing to note. Now, before I get into the positive, I do want to make it clear. When you have a breakout followed by a reversal on the volume that we saw, it's generally a bearish thing, and you could expect some more downside follow through. There are some caveats here. When you look at the lower time frames, that's going to look a lot more bearish. But when you look at the daily chart, which is really what I've been watching on the Bitcoin price chart for some time, the daily chart is signaling caution, but it's saying there are some levels to watch first. Notice that the daily 10 EMA never was closed below here, right? You've had several days of daily 10 EMA moving above. Today's shakeout did drop to the 22 EMA on the daily, but it never closed below the daily 10 EMA. So by definition, technically it's still positive, it's still trending higher. The daily 10 EMA is still trending above the 22 EMA. They're kind of going sideways here. I wouldn't say they're in a strong uptrend, but that makes sense considering we've been in this consolidation for the last month or so. And yesterday was a nice attempt to break out. I'm wondering, part of me is saying today might have just been that fake out, shakeout. You take out the shorts yesterday, you take out the longs today, and then you get going. Not unusual to see that happen in this no manipulation space, but it happens all the time. So first line in the sand for me is going to be a daily close below 10 EMA and the 22 EMA. That's essentially at today's wick low, which is around 9,300. You can call it 92 depending on the exchange you're on, but in and around that. If it loses that level, that's just going to show some follow through. This big reversal candle on high volume, mind you, will be confirmed, and likely I would expect to see a breach below this 8,600 in that scenario, because this would be a false breakout followed by a reversal. You lose that, then I'm thinking we go lower, and in that case, you're also going to be breaking below, this broader trend line that has been moving up on that daily charts, also on the weekly chart. So you'd be breaking a couple of support trend levels. You'd be breaking moving averages. You'd be breaking recent swing lows. You'd be breaking the broader trend on the weekly and the weekly EMAs. So in that scenario, that's what I'm looking at there. But still holding above the daily 10 EMA. Price is essentially back to where it was at around the open yesterday, basically within the same range that it's been in the last few days. But caution absolutely remains, because from a trading perspective, right? You look at odds, you look at trends, you look at that sort of thing. The daily chart, the HODL level, I'm still holding. Just to be clear, I'm still holding my Bitcoin here, but I am starting to hedge. I've certainly taken off any sort of margin that I was on to the long side. And in fact, I've got some sell stop orders that will start to hedge me, and in the event that we start to go lower, I'm going to hold BTC, but I'm going to be doing some margin shorting and just scalping, just kind of how I was doing back here. And my goal there is at the end of the day, I'm looking for some net BTC increases. And there's two ways that I do that. I either hedge, go flat obviously into cash, or I go on the alts side of things. And the last few days, or the last week or two, there's been some really nice alt trades. So net BTC, I'm certainly up on that in the last couple of weeks. And so even if Bitcoin drops 10-15%, from a USD perspective, still going to be net positive just because of the gains on the BTC side of things with the alt rallies that we've seen here recently. So my goal still right now is going to be holding that net BTC value and increasing that, because I still believe the longer term, we're in this big consolidation. I think it's a matter of when, not if, we finally break out above this 10.5 level and start holding above it. In that event, you guys know where I stand. We've been talking about this for what feels like months now, but that's a key level, right? I mean, we've not been able to hold above that level for quite some time. We're there, we're testing it. When we finally start holding above that 10.5, there's not a lot of resistance, not a lot of long-term volume above that level, and things are going to start to take off. I expect a quick move to the old all-time highs at that point, and then beyond eventually. But it's just a matter of how do we get there, right? Do we have that, finally we get that correction that everybody was looking for, and we see a pullback down to some midpoint, and then we break out? There's a lot of ways that could play out, and obviously I'm not going to try to guess the exact way. I'm going to have a plan for both ways, but I'm still looking at that scenario. I don't like the fact that it's been so choppy up here at this consolidation level right below resistance. Yesterday was a great opportunity to finally get going. It looked like it finally wanted to, but of course it paused right below that 10.5, pulling right back. So let's dial it in. Look at that shorter term moving average here. What I don't like is this shorter time frames right here. The fact that it broke out, and the breakout candle, right, started at around 95.75, and it busted straight up to around 10.5, quickly reversed, undercut that today, and price so far is still living below that. That's negative in all scenarios, right? Technically speaking, that's just not a positive thing. And odds favor, normally, in normal markets, odds favor, that's a failed breakout. You'd be seeing more downside testing before it was over. And so that's why I'm cautious. I've got some sell stops in place. The level that I'd be watching near term is in and around this 10 or 9.10. See, I was already getting used to the 10K level. This 9.3, in and around 9.3 is the level I'd be watching. If it starts to hold below that on that 4-hour chart, then I'm thinking 8,600, 8,800 is next, and we'll go from there. So those are my thoughts. We're on thin ice here. Buyers need to just show up, right? I mean, it needs to hold. Yeah, 9K is probably a good psychological number, but I think we'd see a retest here. But, still within the pattern there. But buyers got to show up here soon to negate this shakeout candle, if that's what it was. But so far, not a lot of conviction on the bounce. So I'd be cautious here, in my opinion. You're basically seeing this straight drop, the old BART pattern that we were seeing for far too frequently back in the day. Seeing a little bit here, but look at these moving averages just catching up to the 1 hour chart. Still trading below these moving averages on the 1 hour. Still trading below the moving averages on the 4 hour. The 10's about to cross low below the 22. So going to be interesting to see here. So still holding. I'm going to see that daily chart play out here, but would not surprise me to see another red day tomorrow, or now that we've crossed over. I guess it's today officially. So could be another red day coming because of the shakeout reversal here. So just some thoughts there. Caution remains. But the question is, how would one trade this, right? There's two options. Like I said, you can hedge, you can do a short, or you can go long alts that are outperforming Bitcoin, and it'll just offset some of the potential pullback there. So let's switch over and look at some of these big cap alts, because I still think there's a lot of opportunity in some of the alts. Obviously, Cardano played out very nicely. We saw that big breakout. If you missed that initial rally, there was a couple ways, right? I mean, we were watching Cardano when it finally broke above this trend line here. That was the early signal. Then it consolidated here. This was really the last line in the sand. And then just quick breakout after that. So made for a very nice trade. I think it got a little overheated, so I scaled out of that. Cycled into some Link, and let's go look at the Link there. Because, you know, Link's done okay. It's still feeling the turbulence from the move yesterday, but so far Link is holding that breakout point here. I like this little setup we were watching on Link BTC. It had that breakout 2 days ago, pulled right back in when Bitcoin did its thing to the upside. And then today, when Bitcoin did its thing to the downside, Link actually didn't do too bad here. You can see these 1 hour candles are pretty volatile, but still trending higher. 4 hours, still holding the breakout point. So I'm still going to stay with it. During the BTC breakout, I did have a stop on half of my Link position, which obviously was taken out. So that part got moved right back into Bitcoin, but I'm still holding a little bit there. And I'm thinking we keep going here. Measured move takes you to about 4,900 sat as the first target. And then above that, you'd be looking at basically this level here as your next target, which is around 52 or so. So those are my thoughts on Link. I'm still liking it. We'll see if, you know, if Bitcoin crashes the party. What were the other big names that I wanted to talk about first, and then I'll get to the list here. Looking at Ethereum, obviously Ethereum is a little bit of a bellwether for what the overall altcoin market may be doing here. It's been in a big consolidation pattern here on the weekly chart. This is the weekly BTC, held nice move there, pretty straight up move to the next target. If you go to that daily chart, this line was my target, and then next target was around 2,600 sats. So far, so good. Still trending higher. Honestly, this was a nice little consolidation here on the ETH BTC pair. So I'd be watching it here. Whoops. If it can break out and start holding above that 25.2, 25.3, this looks like a potential setup for a secondary move higher. So ETH still not too bad. Not outperforming Bitcoin here today. So obviously the ETH USD pair is pulling in along with Bitcoin. But it did hit the target there on the upside as well. The next target up was 250 and then 275, as I posted on the Slack group. And that, I believe, was met there. So we saw 250 yesterday, the little pullback. But again, just like Bitcoin, held the daily 10 EMA. So, you know, while caution does remain, this is a big reversal candle. You know, you got to be cautious there. Personally, I'm out of the ETH trade now at this point. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see a throwback entry maybe to around that 220 zone again, and then maybe get going back again. But just kind of depends on what the Bitcoin does here. But I'm leaning bearish on ETH right now. ETH USD. Some of the other big cap names before I cycle in to the other names. What were the ones I wanted to post here? Tezos. Looking at the XTZ, definitely on my radar. I've got some orders out there for it, but I don't have any positions on it just yet. But I'm liking this breakout level here, breaking around that 3,100. things start to look pretty interesting. A little bit of a consolidation happening here. You can see if you zoom out, it's just kind of been in this sideways pattern. Still has the potential for forming this symmetrical pattern. On the pattern, the breakout officially wouldn't be up till around 3,800. I'm not personally going to wait that long. If it starts to take out this little zone here, let me highlight that for you guys. I know it's kind of hard to see, but if it starts to get above this zone, I think that looks positive. And then my first target would be that 3,800, and then after that it'd be a breakout. So a little bit of a trade there, and from a risk reward perspective, like it's a tight, generally, relatively tight stop. Essentially the low end of the range if it breaks out, so maybe 5% or something, 6 at the most, and then your target would be up here. So it still would be at least a 2-to-1, most likely be a 3-to-1 move on the risk reward side of things. So I'm still liking that one. I think it should be on the radar right now as a potential breakout candidate versus Bitcoin, but it's bumping up to resistance right now, so I'm not going to preempt it, because if things decide to just turn south, this would be where it happens from. So gonna just wait for this one to give me the signal. EOS was another one I was watching along the same lines. If you look at EOS, been consolidating here near the lows, looked like it wanted to get going. The level I was hoping to see it clear was at 2,900. I had some alerts set at that level. It attempted it over the weekend, popped over 2,900, pull right back, tried again yesterday, couldn't. So for now, patience remains, but a lot of these alts, man, they're just looking like maybe near term they've hit a bottom and they want to bounce, but I got to be convinced. For now, if I have to choose, I'm holding Bitcoin, and I got to be convinced otherwise before I let go of my precious BTC. Some good tea. But have they bottomed? No confirmation yet, but look at this daily chart. I mean, brutal, right? Just brutal. I mean, look at this. This is going back to the peak in 18. And you had these rallies along the way, nice tradable, swing tradable rallies, even, little holds, but new lows are made, and then it bounces, and then new lows are made. It's like, where's the bottom? Not convinced yet, right? Have we seen a change in the trend? Nope, we haven't. I mean, back here was a good opportunity to finally see that. Clearly gave it all back up. So we've not seen that mega trend, the macro trend, change just yet. Some of them are doing well, but not all of them. It's not an across the board thing. You still have to be very picky, very choosy in your names, because there's not like a all out alt season, as people would like to say. ZIL just continues to take out the targets one at a time. Again, because of what names like ZIL and Theta and OMG and other things have been doing, you got to pay attention to these big bases that have been forming, some of them for a year, some of them for 6 months, but a lot of these big bases at the lows, because when they finally get going, they tend to be pretty quick moves. ZIL, that was the signal there. We were watching ZIL for quite some time, finally broke. Look at it, went straight to the next line, pulled back, broke through, almost to the next line, pulled back. Here it is, finally breaking out the next line. It's just been marching along the way up. I mean, at this point, if I wasn't on it, would I be chasing it? Well, you know the answer to that. If I see a daily RSI above 85 after a significant move, what is this? At the breakout point, up, up 100%. I mean, in ZIL and small alt caps, that's not a big move, but I'd probably look for a more opportune time. I wouldn't necessarily chase it, but that's me. Me chasing these names after they're all over social media and everyone's talking about them, and the rocket memes are going. It's like that. I just look for better risk reward setups. Simple as that. Doesn't mean it doesn't keep going. If I'm in it, I might just stay long it, but do I chase it here? You know me. Longer term, yeah. I mean, a lot of these names, look at the volume coming in on the weekly chart. Looks fantastic. I'd love to see a pullback to the 10 weekly EMA, hold, and then get going, because I think you got more room to go. But it's oversold. It's overbought on any time frame you look at it. So just my thoughts. Let's go look at Atom. I'm liking this one too. This was on the radar. Let me extend the. This is basically the same type of setup, right? You have price starting to consolidate. You have this lower trend line resistance, prices constricting below overhead resistance, lower trend line support, excuse me, and it's just a matter of decision now, right? Within the next week, I would expect you'd see this move one way or the other. On the 4-hour chart, you know, I'd like to see it hold above this zone, but I mean, if you like it here, you gotta watch this lower level. Basically, if it starts to lose that, that's a good stop level point. But yep, it's not a bad setup here. And again, I'm in the camp that a lot of these alts are ready to go, but I want to see some confirmation. That's basically it, right? Because some of them have confirmed, and when they do, they go quick. So that's all I'm waiting on. You're always better off just kind of betting on strength and going with what's getting the momentum right now versus, you know, just waiting out potentially another 3 months of consolidation, you know, because you've seen it before. So, but there's a lot of alts showing up on the trending list here. This is alt versus BTC trending names, names that are potentially setting up momentum or outperforming Bitcoin. You see ZIL on here, obviously. Cardano was on here for quite some time. It's still on here. Link is on here. There's Cardano, there's ETH, VeChain. So we've seen quite a few names doing pretty good. The list has gotten a lot more names here on it lately. But if you look at BTC, it's kind of just signaling caution here with the recent volatility we've seen. The daily status, bot status is still long. But as of last Thursday, 4-hour bot status obviously getting chopped around here with this volatility. But a few names to look at here. Let's go look at ARK. I noticed ARK was on that list here. ARK, just as disclosure here, like ARK is one of those names that I don't like to trade. I think I've said that here before, but I don't know if it's just the liquidity, the volatility, I just don't trade it. It's just too spiky for me. It's just hard to manage a position of any decent size. So maybe from a longer term perspective, if you're liking it, it's just like every other name. That's the level to be watching. 2,800, 2,900 sats. Above that, if it starts to hold, could finally get going. But yeah, look at this long base that's put in since, you know, summer of 2019. It's a lot of accumulation potentially happening here because it's obviously putting in some support. You're seeing some big volume spikes coming in. So it's worth keeping on the radar if that's, you know, if it's your cup of tea in terms of market cap and all that stuff. But could it have its day again, its moment to shine? It could. I certainly wouldn't write this off, especially when they start to put in these big lows. Even if it doesn't ever get back to the old highs, I mean, it could make for a decent trade, a counter trend rally. So definitely some volume spikes happening there. The next pump and dump group is loading up on ARK. Newsletter imminently coming. All right, so let's see here. Some of these other names here real quick. I'm going to cycle through them quickly here. I'm going to cherry pick a few. Decred. Looking at the Decred, showing a little bit of trend action here today. Finally breaking this downtrend, so that's positive. Moving averages have finally turned bullishly inverted, bullishly correlated, 10 above the 22 on that daily chart. That's positive. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe it gets going. The volume there is certainly looking good. From a big target perspective, you know, I'd be looking at 2 levels. First level being this recent support that gave way. That's your first target right above 2,000, and then above 2,400 would be your next target level. So that's Decred. Looking at the WAN chain. WAN chain edging out above some resistance here today on some decent volume too. So nice little setup. You can almost call this a little kind of cup and handle-ish type of pattern with a breakout candle here on this last daily candle. So WAN chain, not too bad. Not too bad here. What else was on that list there? Oh, we looked at that guy. Let me see here. Augur likes to have its moments. Let's go look at that one there. Augur, what's this guy look like? I haven't looked at this chart in forever. You know, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, I wouldn't call it a you know, this trend line might be the signal there if you look at it that, but it is trying here. That's a tough one. I don't know. Anyway, I'll go Grand was on the list. Anything interesting here? Stellar Lumens, VeChain. Let me go look at VeChain real quick. I'm gonna go dollar pair on that guy. VeChain still going after breaking out. Nice little breakout there on the VeChain. This is the USD pair breaking over that 5 cent mark. Up about 42% since then in about a week. Not bad. Not bad at all. The BTC pair also was putting in a little double bottom, so there was some good signals there, some good confluence. We were watching this one here as well, right? With the double bottom, held support, moving averages converge, boom, there it goes. And it's been on the trending list for a little bit now. Monero, I was watching Monero consolidate here. Let's go see how that one looks now. Monero, I'd be watching Monero. This is where I'd be watching it, right there on that daily chart. This Monero BTC. Neo. ETH. We looked at ETH. We looked at Tezos. Tron. Oh my gosh. NEM. There's a name from yesterday. Storm. Remember Storm? Oh, good times. Let's go look at Tron. Tron. Are these names ever going to have their life back? Come on. Look at these things. Sheesh. I don't know why it's on the trending list. Let me look at the 4-hour view. I don't know. Some underlying bull momentum indicator technicals are driving this. BMI here is only 65, so that's not that great anyway. Neo BMI 75. 90's better. Stellar Lumens. XLM. Stellar Lumens. Yeah. Did clear some resistance. Look at this. And it's pulling back a little bit here. These moving averages hold, maybe even above the line. Might not be a bad throwback entry. Now, in the big scheme of things, on the daily chart, this blue area I have highlighted, that's really the zone I'm watching, right, for the weekly daily charts. Breaking above this, which is 900 sats, things could get interesting at that point. Has room to run, not a lot of resistance for quite some ways. So even if you wait until then, right, I mean, it could be a 50-60% run at that point. So that's the big level that I'm watching, but this may be the early signal. Who knows? Okay. Let me see if there's anything else. That's probably it. I'm coming on to my 30-minute mark here. BAT was on the list earlier in the week. Not a whole lot there. You know my thoughts on BTC. I probably wouldn't be surprised if I saw another red day. Again, I'm holding for now, but I am. I've got some open orders ready to jump to the downside if it decides to do that. But it's kind of a mixed scenario, right? You have things like ETH and Link still looking well. I think there's going to be some outperformance, but I think you got to be picky. It's not an across-the-board alt game just yet. You got to pick your poison, if you will. And things have their run, but you know when it's over, it's over. So try not to FOMO. OMG. I wonder if it's going to have another leg up. It did pull back finally to the daily moving averages. Bouncing a little bit here. We'll see. We'll see. IOTA having some momentum there. Let me see if there's anything else that's piquing my interest here. Actually, let me do this here. Let me upload the bot status here. 0x Litecoin. Yeah, let's do that. You still have some NEM from 2017? I probably do, or I did at some point in a wallet that I no longer have or have access to. So if it ever does blow up, I might be a little disappointed, but I don't even know how much NEM it was. It was a lot. It was a lot. Zero X. All right, so that didn't play out too much, but I still wouldn't write this one off. I mean, it had this big breakout, was pumped, as we know, but it's still holding above this breakout point, which is that highlighted zone there. The RSI is fully reset, still held above that 40. So, you know, I'm not doing anything with it, but I certainly wouldn't write it off. You could argue there's a little bit of a falling wedge type of thing going on here as well, right into that support zone. So I'd be watching it. How does it look on the USD side? X. Yeah, pretty decent setup here as well. A little bit of a throwback entry. If it can start to take out, let me discount these wicks here. Oops. Come on, drawing tools. Sorry. I love TradingView, by the way. And I mean that. Yeah, I mean that's really the level I'd be watching here. So if you want to look at a horizontal level on the price, on the USD price, if it holds above 0.36, you know, in and around this zone, that'd be a pretty decent level to watch. When do you enter breakouts? That's a good question. So there's two general rules of thumb on the breakout trades. You enter it, you know, when it's breaking out a certain point. I like to go with the close, unless it's a big move, then I'll jump on it, or if I see volume. But I generally like to go with a close over a certain level, or you look for a throwback entry. So let's say you see a big move and it breaks out and you miss the move, then you look for a throwback entry. And it doesn't have to come all the way back to the breakout point, but ideally you want to see a secondary levels type of setup here. Let me see if I can find one. Link. Did OMG have one? I think Theta did a few times. Yeah, here's a good example using Theta. So let's do this. So this was the breakout level I was watching. You could have gone with, you know, this daily hold above the level, and then of course at that point you put your stop somewhere below this breakout point, and so you have to adjust your size accordingly, right? So if you have a, you know, well, that's too wide of a stop, I probably wouldn't have done that. But you know, if you have a big stop, right, 10% stop, and then you know, smaller size versus a 2% stop, if that makes sense. But you can see there was a pretty good throwback here, one to the moving averages, but two also to this breakout point. I like those pullbacks because those make for some better risk reward entries versus chasing the breakout if you miss it. The alternative is, and it just kind of depends on the setup, but when I see price getting really tight like this and starting to consolidate, in some cases I may just have a buy stop order just above there for part of my position. Usually I don't go for the whole thing when I have a buy stop, just because I don't want to get wicked in and then it gets chopped out. But I'll have a buy stop for part of my position to jump on it when it pushes over. But I have to really like the setup. It has to be really tight. A cup and handle, an ascending triangle base. Those are probably my favorite setups in terms of buy stop orders for breakouts. And then at that point, I'll just kind of add to the position manually on either pullbacks or consolidations, right? So like, for example, you had the breakout, you missed the move. Here's a great consolidation, right? Look at this move right here. A little bit of an ascending base, probably look that way on the 4-hour chart. You can have another breakout point right there. And so when the names get going and they really consolidate above the breakout points, usually it makes for a decent little bit of a run. So Theta was a good example of that. I don't necessarily trade the breakout on every type of setup. It just kind of depends. The ones that I don't like to trade breakouts on are your traditional like breakout necklines, like inverse head and shoulder or double bottoms. I'll trade throwbacks to those. I don't usually chase those because usually on like an inverse head and shoulder or a double bottom, I like to get in before the breakout, and then at the breakout I actually take some profits. And then if it pulls back and holds, then I might add some back in. But on those scenarios, I don't trade breakouts. I usually get in early and then I take some profits into the breakout. So it just depends on the pattern, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. But from a breakout level perspective, even if you don't take the trade then and there, I think it's very important to understand where those resistance levels are. If you had to pick any sort of trading tool, right? Moving averages, stochastics, all this fun stuff, oscillators and momentum indicators. I mean, hands down, the best thing is simple price support and resistance. I mean, hands down, for all markets, in my opinion. Stocks, gold, crypto. There's other things that I use, obviously, but once you learn how to identify key support resistance levels, that just goes a long ways. I mean, it really does, because price truly does trade around some of those levels. One, for breakouts, and two, for setting targets. I mean, if you look at, the last swing high back here, I mean, it's almost interesting and comical sometimes that it goes right to the penny and then it pulls right back. So that's what I'd be watching. That's what I'd be learning first, is kind of basic support resistance. And I think I have a video on there that's free. There's technical analysis, cardinal rules, and then there is, where is it here? Support and resistance. And I think this one's open to everybody, but I would go check that one out. On that happy note, I'm thinking that's it, my friends. What was my thought on Link? I'm long Link right now, long Link BTC. I did get stopped out at half my position yesterday, and that was because I was just protecting some gains in the event that Bitcoin did what it did, but I'm still holding some. Yeah, we do have a Slack group. I don't post, I don't have a signals group or a trade, signal group or anything like that anymore. It's not exactly a paid group. It's just kind of our community of node insiders, and a lot of people post way more than I do in terms of good ideas and trades and charts and all that. So if you want to join, it is a private Slack group, but anybody who signs up for the node insiders gets an invite to that, and you are there forever, even if you're not a subscriber after that. So feel free to join. I think that's gonna do it today, my friends. So handful of names that are still looking good versus Bitcoin. I would just be very judicious right now, because Bitcoin does look a little bit on the edge. But hey, guess we'll see what it looks like tomorrow. Stay safe out there, guys. I wish you all the best. Wish you all the best of luck. And do like I do. Take a break from Twitter once in a while, because it can get a little overwhelming, a little bit depressing. And, Twitter is Twitter, and social media is social media, and YouTube is YouTube. And you're going to have a bunch of people who are just, well, it's the internet. You're going to have a lot of idiots on there posting stupid things and comments, and, just don't let it get to you. But stay positive, my friends. Do something nice for somebody. Till next time.